Bin Laden's son is now in Afghanistan, and he's married to the...
They tried him for murdering.
Rules of engagement are a huge problem, as you know.
That's another one.
We're over our warfighters here.
They deleted the drone footage.
You know, they did some nasty, did some tough things. These are rough guys.
Our power grid's fucked. Our border's fucked. Our education system's fucked. Everything's fucked. That's the way it feels. Everything is fucked. And we're shipping all of our money overseas. And we should be, I mean, do you know anything about the power grid? Do you know how bad it is?
Super vulnerable. I mean, one EMP, one of the right strikes, and what happens when we're months without power?
I don't think they even need to do an EMP. We don't. China produces all of our transformers, all of our solar, all of our wind, everything, and we don't even check it for malware or Trojan horses or any of these type of viruses that they. I mean, and even FBI Director Ray came out and said, yeah, they're in our grid and they're in our water treatment plants, and all they have to do is flip the switch. But we ship 175 billion thus far to Ukraine. But
no, well, and Bin Laden's son is now in Afghanistan, and he's married to the daughter of Mullah Omar and the daughter of Zarqawi, and they're, I mean, when the FBI director is saying that the dashboard is flashing red and smoking, he's not doing it because he's doing it because he's covering his ass. He knows something's coming at some point, and
But even on top of all the DEI stuff on the military, I don't even think I think that's just one aspect of the war on warriors. I mean, just before we started talking on the show, we were having a side conversation about the Biden Four, the Blackwater guys, Eddie Gallagher, Goldstein. The latest one, I don't know if you're aware of this, Brad Geary. Do you know who Brad Geary is? Mm-mm. He's a naval captain. He was in charge of Naval Special Warfare Training Center. He was the guy that was in charge when Mullen, the SEAL recruit who was in Buds, died.
Yep.
And now they're pinning his ass to the wall, and it's straight lies. Just for an example, they are blaming it on the training cadre, and it was too hard, and the medical checks were wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. But they did three separate investigations to cover up. They just kept reinvestigating it until the facts were gone. And the facts were that they found a cooler or some type of a box full of vials of testosterone, human growth hormone, and Viagra, from Pakistan. And when he died, his heart was 63% larger than most. I think he was 23. Was he 23 at the time? But they had all of that removed out of the investigation. I should connect you guys.
Absolutely.
But that's the latest one. That's Eddie Gallagher. They tried him for murdering an ISIS fighter.
Yep.
They tried him for murdering an ISIS fighter.
Correct.
And I was a SEAL, and I asked because I thought he was guilty. I thought he was guilty because everybody was saying that he was guilty. I was calling my buddies that were still in. Hey, what's up with this Gallagher guy? Is this real? Like, what? I don't see the problem here. And they're like, oh, man, dude, you don't want to. It's bad. They have the videos. It was bad. They told, I think it was Green, went around to all the SEAL teams and briefed them saying that they had video, the proof that Eddie killed this guy in a, I don't know, whatever fashion. Mm-hmm. But nobody ever saw it. Turns out in court it never came up. They just fucking lied to the entire SEAL community to pin this guy's ass to the wall. A lot of people still hate him.
You had his lawyer, Tim Parlatore, on your show. Without the kind of legal defense that he got. I mean, they got the other guy to admit that he killed him in the last day of trial.
Yeah, it wasn't even him.
So
you didn't even kill the ISIS fighter.
So it's Eddie Gallagher or Clint Lawrence or the Raven 23 guys.
Those guys were. One was going. Nick Slatton was going to to prison for life.
For life.
And the other 3, I believe it was 35 years. And they deleted the drone footage that proved their innocence in court. That's another one. Hey, let's just retry them until we get a guilty.
A couple of them didn't even pull the trigger in the actual incident. It's Matt Goldstein's the other one I'm thinking of, a Green Beret. So yeah, I mean, chapter 10 and 11 are more lethality, less lawyers, and the laws of war for winners, talking about exactly this. And this is why, I was proud to be a part of, in a small way, behind the scenes with all of those, with the pardons that came for President Trump. And what his instinct was, hey, I'm with the warfighters. Like, we sent them to do these really dangerous, dirty, difficult things that no one else would do. And then sort of like the line from A Few Good Men. And then we challenge the manner in which they do it. And even when they do it in a way we may not like or every people don't understand, rather than giving them deference or having their back or finding a way to support them, we throw them under the bus. And the Raven 23 is one of the most egregious examples of that, because it was politically expedient for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden to do that. It was a gift to the Maliki government because of what, the publicity that had come out because of it. And so you have a Pentagon that starts to be complicit with that way of thinking, and it's all about advancement and covering up problems, and they don't have the backs of guys. Rules of engagement are a huge problem, as you know.
That's another one.
It's a big one.
I mean, I remember I was working for the agency at the time, and we were in Helmand Province, and the Marines were getting ready to do this big push through Marjad. Do you remember that?
I remember that, yep.
We were co-located, right? They didn't know, but we were right alongside them. And I remember when the ROEs came out for that under the Obama administration, it was, if they shoot at you and drop their weapon, you cannot return fire.
In a war.
And I was like, man, like, you just cut these guys' legs out right out from under them. Like, nobody's even, what are we doing? Like, you just put the fear of God in these guys that if they have to do their job and defend the country, that they're going to go to prison for the rest of their life. I mean, they demoralized the entire battalion that was doing that offensive push. And I mean, it's just, this has been a long process.
That's why I say the rules of war for winners, because why are we fighting an enemy? Why have we spent the last 20 years fighting enemies that don't abide by rules at all? And these are rules written by like dudes in cloakrooms in Europe after World War I, because they thought that they could fight polite wars in the future amongst European nations. When we live now in a world in 2024 where all of our enemies use all of their advantages against us, ignoring all the rules of war, and then expecting us to play by all those very same rules, where we're our largest critiquers in the middle of the process. And then we wonder why the war never ends and why it perpetuates itself, and then why we're throwing our own guys in jail. Because we've written rules that are impossible, that are written for us to lose, that are written for our guys to be in handcuffs. I mean, I got a similar brief. We had a JAG officer, brief our platoon in Iraq in 2005 in Baghdad prior to one of our first missions, and it was just standard ROE briefing. He's like, so you see a man in the road and he's carrying an RPG, but it's not yet pointed at you. And it was, an enemy. Can you shoot? My guy's like, hell yeah. Like, no, you cannot. But you cannot shoot until he's pointing that weapon at you. And I just remember walking out, and clear as day, I remember walking out of that briefing, pulling my platoon together and being like, guys, we're not doing that. Like if you see an enemy and they're engaged before he's able to point his weapon at you and shoot, we're going to have your back. And that comes back down to commanders. And I felt like I could say that because I knew I had commanders echelons above me who would have our backs in that process. And the New York Times and the left and Democrats would say, all they do is take one incident and yell war criminal. They never actually understand the context of what happened. I mean, I got the same income on Eddie Gallagher. Don't touch this story. I talked to CLF, don't touch it. Guilty as all hell, guilty as all. And I just looked more and more, same with Clint Lorenz, same with Matt Goldstein, and the Raven 23 guys.
What is Matt Goldstein?
Matt Goldstein's Green Beret. I can't remember all the particulars of it right now, but he was involved, a guy who they had rolled up, who had been involved in killing Americans, then had gotten released, and his sources were going to be killed, and he laid in basically an ambush on the guy when he was released and killed him because they knew that their sources were all going to be killed. Forgive me if that's wrong, something along those lines. He's probably going to watch and text me and be like, you're an idiot. So I'm sure I got some part of that wrong. He's one of the smartest, most patriotic guys you'll ever meet. I mean, you should have him on the show sometime. Guys, phenomenal, like stupid level smart, PhD level.
Did he get out of it, or is he?
He got out of it. He got a pardon.
He did
from Trump.
Nice.
And because the thing with Trump is, if his wife Julie Goldstein was on our show a number of times. She's just really articulate, really passionate. Once he sees a story and gets how it connects to something bigger, connects to the bigger idea that we're fucking over our warfighters here.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing that? Why did we do that? Why wouldn't we back these guys up, even if they weren't perfect? And he'd call me, and be like, they did some nasty, did some tough things. These are rough guys, but he respects people that were willing to do it on behalf of the rest of us, and he's not going to throw them under the bus. So once he gets the information, and you're able to say, "Here's what happened," or "Here's what happened in Eddie Gallagher's trial." I mean, that went all the way to the Secretary of the Navy, if you remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer got canned for misrepresenting how that entire case went out. That's what you need, leaders that get it, and that was Donald Trump.
Do you think it would be a good idea for whoever gets into office to put like a team together of these guys that have been through what we're talking about, like Eddie, Brad Geary, Goldstein?
Yep.
Because one, they know who to go after because it's happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they're passionate about
Put
it.
Tim Parlatore on that list too, by the way. He's super smart.
Yeah, Tim would be.
He'd be good.
Tim would be a great wrecking ball.
He would.
A level-headed wrecking ball. But I feel like maybe a little bit of an overcorrection because it's personal. But
sure.
I mean, I feel like that would be a great start.
Yeah, you have to start with people who can say, okay, I know who the political animals were in those places.
Yeah.
Because that's the challenge of a new administration. Is everyone's going to jump up and down and say, I was this, or I was never really for that, or because they want to preserve their careers. And you're going to have somebody that's able to call balls and strikes.
I mean, this isn't just happening with the military, though. I mean, this is in all the agencies. I know it's at the agency because I was there. It was bad when I left in 2015. But, and when you say from the top down, I don't know if that works. I don't know about the academies, what they're teaching.
Well, you'd have to change the academies too, right? So that's where you have to change both sides of that squeeze. Mm-hmm. You have to, admission standards, overall standards. I think a huge one is women in combat and quotas. I think the way they pushed that under Obama in a way that had zero to do with efficacy, zero to do with lethality and capability.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.